Well, happy holidays, everyone. Here we are, another holiday season. So, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, and happy first day of Hanukkah. I just had to look it up. I thought I might have missed it, but it's the first day of Hanukkah, so happy Hanukkah to all of you who celebrate Hanukkah. And for those of you who don't really celebrate anything, happy solstice. We just hit winter solstice yesterday, so happy winter solstice to you. And I was gonna do my normal travel video. I'm still working my way back down to the desert in video, and have been trying to work on that. Been kind of busy traveling, and instead of doing that today though, I thought what better time to tell the story of how I got here than the holiday season. Who doesn't like a good story during the holidays, right? So I've been getting this question a lot lately. A lot of people have been wanting to know, what was it like the first few days out as a full-time RVer, and what were the days leading up to it like? What were those days like as well? And how did I get here? Like, what did I do to plan? What was the impetus for getting me out here? And I know I've talked a little bit about that, but I've never really told the full story before. So today it's going to be a story time video, and I'm going to talk all about how I got here, because I know a lot of you are planning, are thinking about coming out here. Maybe you're even in the final stages and you want to know, is this normal? What should I be feeling? What does everybody else feel? Oh my gosh, I'm terrified. And so I'm going to talk about all those things, as well as give you a couple updates on some things coming up. Stay tuned.
There ain't nobody gonna do it for you. Got to mind your own.
Hi friendlies, I'm Carolyn and welcome to my RV life. I live in an RV so that I don't have to pay pesky things like rent and mortgage, so that I can afford to do the things I love, like take off for 2 months and hike a trail if I want to, take off for 3 weeks and go to New Zealand, which I'm going to be doing here coming up pretty soon, and just really just be able to live the life I want to live without having to worry about the cost of living in mainstream society. And so that brings me, before I get into my story of how I got here and why I'm living in an RV and what it was like to plan and lead up to it, a couple announcements, or a couple things that a lot of you have been curious about. First of all, let me see, what was the first thing? New Zealand. Yes, I am going to New Zealand in pretty soon, and let me see. Oh, and I'm going to be doing a meetup. I was really impressed with the response that I got about New Zealand. I couldn't believe how many people watch me from New Zealand. So I will be doing a meetup in Christchurch, New Zealand, and I'm gonna announce those dates later, so make sure you stay tuned for that, but I'm really excited. And yes, I'm doing both islands. I'm doing the North Island and the South Island. I'm doing some backpacking, not a lot, not like a month of backpacking. I'm doing a couple shorter trips. I think the biggest one is like 24 miles that I have planned so far, but I'm leaving things open. I don't like to plan a lot, and I'm also going to be spending about 8 days traveling the South Island in a camper van, and more on that coming up. But I am doing both islands. There seems to be some confusion about that, but yes. Stay tuned. I'm going to give you more information on that. And the other thing I want to talk about is my live stream on Christmas Day. As I said in my annual Are You Going to Be Alone on Christmas video, I'm going to be doing a live stream on Christmas Day starting at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And what is that? 2 o'clock Eastern Time. A lot of you have been asking how to join a live stream. Well, I think I created a link, so I'll put a link if there is one, and if not, I'll tell you there isn't a link. I'll put a link to the video in the description of this video, so that at the time that I'm going live, 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Time, all you have to do is click on the link and it'll automatically take you to the live stream, just like it's a normal video. The only difference is, on a live stream, on the right hand side of the screen, you'll see a chat box, so you can ask me questions. And I thought, why not have a little fun, keep it light? And for this live stream, I think it'll be just ask me anything. Ask me anything you want to know during this live stream, so you can chat up there, and I will answer some of them. I'm not promising I'm going to answer every question I get. I probably won't. But you can ask. It doesn't hurt to ask, right? But it can be about RV living. It can be about backpacking. It can be about the shoes. It can be about traveling to New Zealand. It can even be about me personally, if you want to know anything. And again, I can't guarantee that I'm going to answer every personal question I get, but never hurts to ask, right? You just never know. I've I've already asked channel members, patrons, and people on the fan club what questions they might have for me, and the fan club is free on Facebook if you want to join. And I'm already getting some really, really good questions. And in fact, so that brings me to today's story time. One of the questions that I got, I think in the fan club, and I've actually been seeing it a lot lately, and I think it warrants an entire video. So that brings us to today's story time. So how did I get here? What led me I was 48 years old at the time, led me to live in an RV, and what was the process of giving up my sticks and bricks and giving up everything in the Bay Area to get an RV? What was it like the first, days out on the road and the weeks leading up to it? I know some of you are really curious, if you're thinking about doing this, what that was like. So I've always wanted to be a nomad. When I was 17 years old, my dream was to just jump in the car and wait tables, because that's what I was doing. I was waiting tables at the time in high school. I ended up dropping out of high school, but that was just what I wanted to do. But that's not what you do, right? I mean, at 17, 18 years old, you're told, no, you need to get a career, you need a job, you need to be responsible, and all the things that they tell you about chasing the American dream. You're supposed to want to succeed. You're supposed to want money. You're not supposed to want freedom. You're not supposed to not want things, right? And so I spent the next 3 decades of my life chasing the American dream. I went back, got my GED, ended up going to community college, graduating from a 4-year university, got a career, got a house, got a husband, and I was miserable. And drinking myself to death, when was that? The big crash. When was that? Big crash of 2008, right? So I was literally drinking myself to death. I weighed about 240 pounds. I wasn't happy. I was completely miserable. Here, I had everything I thought I was supposed to want, and I was miserable. Well, in a lot of ways, for a lot of us, I think the crash of 2008 was a really good thing, because it was a wake-up call. Through no fault of my own, chasing the American dream, sure, I could have saved more money, I could have had more money in the bank, I could have had less debt, blah, blah, blah. But I lost my job. We were all of a sudden, overnight, upside down in the house by a lot. The mortgage was $320,000, and all of a sudden it was worth like $150,000. They ended up, when we moved out, they ended up reselling it for like $138,000. It was ridiculous. And so that ended up being a good thing. I lost my job. I decided to start a business, and I became a marketing consultant and built a business over the next 10 years, and left my husband and walked away from the house. And when I did all those things, I started getting myself back. I started getting back the things that were important to me. Backpacking. I didn't backpack the whole time I was married. Travel. The first thing I did when I got a divorce is bought a new backpack and got a passport. And so over the next couple of years, building my business, one of the things that being a small business owner gave me was the freedom to start living my life my way. If I was making enough money, I could take a month off. And I did. The first time I took 3.5 weeks off and went to Europe. And then a few years later, I took a whole month off and hiked the John Muir Trail. And so being a small business owner kind of gave me the freedom to redefine my work life. I was no longer tied 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, working my ass off for 2 weeks a year. I was now in control of my income. I was in control of my work schedule. I was in control of my life in a way that I had never been in control of my life before. Now, I think it was Barbara Corcoran or one of the sharks, they have actually, I think it's the other one, the QVC later. They have a great saying that being an entrepreneur means that you can choose which 80, or being an entrepreneur means you're willing to work 80 hours a week so you don't have to work 40 hours a week. And that's very true. The first 2 years of my business, I didn't do anything. I didn't go anywhere. I worked my butt off to build a business. And then after that, when things started stabilizing a little bit and the money was coming in, I was able to start doing some of the things that I love to do. And so it was after, I don't know, I'd been in business, how long? Maybe 8 years. And I took a month off to hike the John Muir Trail. And I was out on the trail for 26 days. Living out of a 60-liter backpack. No, flash 40, flash something like that. 62-liter backpack. And I came back to my little apartment in Concord, California. and it was an in-law unit. It was about 600 or 700 square feet, an in-law, so I shared the yard with the owners, and so it wasn't really mine. Their whole house, they had a pool, was glass. It's not like I could really hang out there. In fact, I wasn't even allowed to have friends over in the yard. And, you know, Capone had a little doggy door out to the side with where the garbage goes and the fence, and, you know, I could leave the gate open so he'd go to the backyard. But basically, I came back to this apartment and I looked around and I'm like, I just survived, lived, thrived, had a wonderful time without any of the crap in this apartment. I don't need any of this, and yet I just paid $1,400 to store it while I was gone. And I started rethinking my life. In fact, after the divorce, I had moved like 3 times, and the last time I moved, I made a conscious effort, a conscious decision. I wasn't going to buy anything new for the apartment. I had already started getting more into a minimalist state of mind, a more minimalist way of thinking. I was like, I don't need a new lamp. That lamp I have works perfectly fine. I don't need new shelves. The shelves I have work perfectly fine. I don't need, the shoes came later. But, you know, I don't need a new comforter or new duvet. There's nothing wrong with the ones I have. And I really started redefining need versus want. I'd find myself saying, I need a new lamp. And I'd be like, no, you don't need a lamp. You've got plenty of lamps. There's nothing wrong with this. You want a lamp. There is a difference. And so I'm not really sure why. Maybe because the first time I moved out of the house, when I left my husband, I moved in a car, and I think a pickup truck from a friend. The second time, it was like 3 pickup trucks from friends. And the last time I moved, it was like a U-Haul and a few pickup trucks. And I'm like, I don't need all this crap. And I think that's when I decided that I was gonna stop buying so much. So when I came back from my hike and I looked around and realized that I didn't need any of the crap in my apartment, I hadn't needed it. Of course, I was on vacation, so things like my computer and my work files and things like that I wouldn't need. But it really just, something switched. Something clicked in my head. And I think maybe even before the trail, but I don't remember now, I was already starting to think that the Bay Area life, the rat race, wasn't working for me. I had moved closer to San Francisco because I thought that would be better for my business. And eventually what I realized was that the incremental revenue from my business wasn't paying for the cost of living to live there. So when I lived 30 miles further away from San Francisco, my rent was literally half as much. I wasn't living in the best neighborhood, but my rent was half as much. And but I was doing just fine there. And my reasoning was, if I move closer to San Francisco, I'll get a higher profile client. I'll be able, you know, the small businesses that I was working with would be able to pay my rates, and that was my thinking. It didn't quite work out that way. Like I said, the cost of living skyrocketed, doubled moving closer to San Francisco, but I wasn't necessarily seeing my income double. And I just really started questioning everything. Here I was spending thousands of dollars to live a standard of living that I needed in order to keep my business alive, or at least I thought I needed. Here I was, a marketing consultant selling success, so I needed to look the part. So I wasted a lot of money to look the part. The mani-pedis, the clothes, the shoes, the hair salons, the expensive makeup, and I mean just the expensive meals out, and, you know, whining and dining clients a little bit, and the networking that I was doing, and the personal trainer, the gym membership, the personal trainer, the chiropractor, the acupuncturist. I mean, literally, those are all the things I was paying for. I was spending a lot of money. I was making good money and I had no money in the bank. And I'm like, there is something wrong with this picture. When I was looking at my taxes at the end of the year and seeing how much money I was making, I was like, there's something wrong here. I mean, I could be living like a queen somewhere else in the country. Why am I living paycheck to paycheck? And so I don't know, my priorities just started switching. I started really, again, thinking need versus want. How much of this do I really need versus just a want? And I started fantasizing about living another way. I thought I might move away from the Bay Area and just simplify my life, downscale my business so that I wouldn't have to work as much to support my standard of living. And I thought, you know, I'll grab my backpack and just disappear into a national forest and live off the land. I literally thought about doing that. I think you've heard this. So anyway, I think a lot of this you've all heard. Basically, I ended up cashing out what was left of my 401k, which was $10,000. Well, I got $10,000 by the time I paid all the penalties and everything, and bought an RV, a 92 RV for $8,000. I can't remember when I decided to do that. I got off the trail in September, and by February 1st, I had the RV. So it happened kind of fast. And then from there, I just started putting my belongings on Craigslist. The big things, you know, like I had a nice bed, I had a nice bedroom set, I had a nice living room set, things like that. I just started putting on Craigslist. What I didn't sell on Craigslist, I decided I was going to have a garage sale. So I bought the RV in February, brought it home, parked it on the street in front of the house, texted my landlord, and I'm like, I have something to tell you. And he texted back and he's like, if it's about the RV, it's fine, you can park it there. And I'm like, no, it's a little bit more than that. I'm giving my 30-day notice. And he was like, oh, okay. And actually, I think I gave, and he's like, well, he texted back and he's like, oh shoot, we're going abroad. They had planned like a 6-week vacation in Italy or something like that. And we're going to be leaving right about that time. And so what happened, and it actually worked out really well, I said, you know what, I'll stick around, I'll help you move in a new tenant, I'll definitely, you know, make sure it's clean. If you want to bring anybody in to paint or whatever, I'll manage that for you. They had a pretty big backyard, and I said, I'll just park the rig in the backyard and kind of be your house sitter while you're gone. And so what happened is within 30 days, I was out of my apartment. I parked the rig in the backyard, and within 30 days, I had sold everything. I had a big garage sale, I think one day. I mean, and I was selling like it was hard. It was really hard. I was selling like my Michael Kors $200 handbags for like $30. You know, some nice Anne Klein suits and shoes and stuff for like dirt cheap, and that was a little tough. That was a little tough, but I didn't care. It wasn't about the money really. I just wanted to get rid of everything. What I didn't sell at the garage sale, I took to Goodwill. There were like 2 carloads of stuff. I literally just got rid of everything that I didn't need in my RV. It was a 29-foot RV, so I was able to, you know, I had quite a bit of storage, but I didn't save anything that I didn't absolutely necessarily need. I have like a suitcase full of personal items, journals and mementos, like literally like one big suitcase full of that stuff, and that was about it. A few dishes, 3 knives, 3 forks, 3 spoons, I don't know why 3, 3 plates. So I did bring some of like my glassware and stuff like that, which hasn't made it. It's gone now, but whatever I didn't need in my RV, I got rid of. And so I had an empty apartment, and for the next 2 or 3 weeks, they ended up hiring a house sitter, a friend of theirs that they knew who pretty much always did the house sitting for them because they had a dog and everything to watch the dog. So for 3 weeks, I lived in the backyard of their house, which was really good because it gave me the opportunity to learn how to live in my RV with full hookups. I mean, I had water, I had electricity, and then I would take weekend trips out to campgrounds. In the winter, I would go out to campgrounds, and I think only one time I went out on a trip to a campground, again, just to learn how to dump my tanks, learn how to fill it up, learn how to use the electrical outlet in a campground. And then I would come back to the safety of the backyard. So it was interesting. I remember the first time I walked in the RV that I bought and just kind of like looking around and standing there and going, I can live in this. It's like, what, 200 square feet, 600 square feet? My kitchen in the apartment was itty bitty tiny. Actually, the kitchen I have now really is not that much smaller than the kitchen I had in that apartment. It was a tiny little in-law kitchen. And I just looked around and I'm like, I think I can live in here. I think I can do this. After about 3 weeks, maybe a month of living in the backyard, I decided it was time to go. I was really getting stir crazy just living in the backyard. I still did have my car that it was, you know, a 2006 car that I had bought brand new that was paid off, and I decided I was going to put that in storage. So I put it in storage and decided I needed to go. I had had enough. A couple of the resources that I used in the beginning were Campendium and freecampsites.net to find campsites. There was also one that's not around anymore that was like a listing. It was almost like just a plain old spreadsheet of places that you might be able to stealth camp. And I can't remember even what it was called now. I wish I could find my notes. I have notes and journals. It might be on an old computer somewhere, but those were my resources. And Bob Wells' website. Bob Wells wasn't making of cheaprvliving.com. He wasn't making videos yet, and so his website I used a lot for a lot of the information on how to do this. And back to moving into an RV, my really number one motivator for that was Eric, Nomadic Fanatic. He was the only one like really making videos at the time who was of working age, who wasn't retired, who was just a young guy living in an RV, going around the country, doing his thing and making videos. And I was like, oh my God, you can do that? You can live in an RV? Are you kidding me? So it was him. It was him. And I might even have found him first, and then through him found Bob Wells of cheaprvliving.com website. Yeah, it must have been, because I didn't know you could live in an RV until I stumbled upon Nomadic Fanatic. And I stumbled upon Nomadic Fanatic by looking at off-grid living and tiny home living, because that's another thing I was thinking about. So yeah, when I discovered that people live in RVs, I was like, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. Yes. So when I decided to leave the backyard, I didn't know where I was going. I remember just unplugging the rig, you know, looking over at Capone and be like, you ready? Here we go. This is it. We're like driving away from our life. Like, what am I doing? Oh my God, I'm crazy. This is insane. What was I thinking? You know, I mean, I remember driving out the backyard and driving up to the gate and having to get out and unlock the gate. In fact, I think I may have written a blog about this. I'll put a link down below on my website. I think I did. And, yeah, thinking, what am I doing? I have a good life. This is crazy. What have I done? People don't do this. There's something wrong with me. And I had no idea even where I was going to sleep that night. And, but I was like, no, I'm doing it. My thinking throughout the whole process, and especially sitting in my driver's seat, driving out that back gate for the last time, I thought, screw it. You know what? If it doesn't work, I'll come back. That was part of the reason I saved my car, because I was like, well, I can't show up to client meetings. Matilda, in case you guys were with me with Matilda, she certainly didn't look like the picture of success, did she? People would be like, what the hell? Nobody would hire me driving up to meetings with Matilda. And so I saved my car just in case I needed to come back. And that was my thing. And I think that's my thing with a lot of things. If I don't like it, I won't do it anymore. If it doesn't work out, I can go back. No harm, no foul, especially since I didn't have a house anymore. It was like, my thinking was, as far as budget, I was paying $1,500 to or 14 or 15, I can't remember now, rent for the apartment. But with everything else, let's say $2,000 a month, probably more than that even for my standard of living. The way I looked at it, even when I cashed out the 401k, I was like, it'll take me 5 months to pay back the 401k, because that's $2,000 I'm still earning, because I still have my clients. I think I didn't finish that story about the clients, but I'll get back to that. I'm still earning what I was earning before. I'm still earning the same amount of money, only I don't have to pay $2,000+ a month for a standard of living, you know? And I did a spreadsheet and I figured out what's gas gonna cost me at 8 gallons, 8 miles to the gallon, you know, my insurance for the RV, other expenses, dump station fees and stuff like that. And I figured that, I can't remember, but I did a spreadsheet. What are all my costs now? What are my, you know, my personal trainers, my acupuncture, my gym membership, my hair appointments, all of the things that I paid were in one column, and all of the expenses for living in an RV. And I think I should have been $1,000 ahead, let's say. I don't remember. I think I should have been about $1,000 ahead living in an RV. So I thought, okay, well, $1,000 ahead, maybe I wouldn't be able to pay back my 401k in in a couple of months, but it, you know, I should be able to pay it off in less than a year. That was the thinking. And as many of you know who were with me through Matilda, I ended up dumping about $20,000 into Matilda. So there went all of that. But the way I looked at it, it's like, that's what I would have paid for rent anyway, and I had a lot more fun. So I got to go where I wanted and do the things I wanted to do and really have a lot of adventures. Back to how I was able to earn a living on the road. My goal was to go back to the Bay Area as often as I needed to meet with clients. And I did do that for a few months, or a couple of months. So I left the backyard April 1st. And I really did. I got really good within, I don't know, 2 or 3 mile radius of the San Francisco Bay Area, not only finding boondocking, but I did a lot of stealth camping. My very first night, I ended up leaving the backyard going, what am I doing? This is crazy, but if it doesn't work out, I can always go back. Not a big deal. No harm, no foul. With the money, you know, I can live out in the National Forest for 2 months to save enough money to put a down payment on an apartment, to get a new apartment. Not a big deal. No harm, no foul, right? I mean, what's the big deal? I can always start all over again. Didn't matter. And so I left Concord, California that night and drove, where did I go? I don't know why I decided, like, Fairfield, California. That's where I had my house. I decided I was gonna go there and drive around and see if I could find some cool stealth camping spots around there. And I did. That's where I spent the night. I ended up finding a new housing development. They were building new houses, and at the end of a construction road, I went out there and parked, and I think I spent 2 or 3 nights out there before I went and started exploring the Sacramento area. I went even down toward Gilroy area, and just really within probably a 2 or 3 mile radius of the San Francisco Bay Area. I got really, really good for the first month or so of stealth camping and going out to El Dorado National Forest and the National Forest in around Sacramento and things like that. And in fact, I'll put a link to my blog. I do have some blog posts about some of those, because when I first started this, I had no intention, never thought I was going to make videos, and I was doing blogs. And now here I am, almost 4 years later. Well, let me see, where are we? December? Yeah, well, 3 years and 8 months later, here I am, living the dream. Once I left the backyard and spent the first month or so traveling around I did a lot of stealth camping, and that's why I've said before, the first year of my life, I had even the first 6 months of my RV life, I had like 5 or 6 knocks on my door, because I don't know, I thought I was flying under the radar for some reason. I thought I was invisible. And I thought, you know, I mean, to give myself a little bit of credit, I thought even if I saw a no parking sign on private property, I'm like, they're not gonna care if I just park my rig here. I'm just parking my rig here. Well, I was wrong, they do care. So I don't recommend parking on private property anymore. I really thought that I could get away with it. I really thought, you know, why do they care if I'm just parked here? But they care. So I got a lot of knocks on my door, and I don't do as much stealth camping. What happened is again, Bob's website, cheaprvliving.com website, was my kind of go-to source for everything, and, you know, residency and mail, and, you know, even I think I learned about Campendium from him and how to find campsites. Campendium was another app or website to help find free camping spots, like freecampsites.net, which is what I use now exclusively. And he was having a summer rubber tramp rendezvous in Flagstaff, Arizona. And I knew I didn't necessarily want to do this alone. I knew that this would be a very isolating life, and I really did want to meet people. I wanted community. I didn't start out wanting to do this completely alone like I have. I don't know how that evolved. I don't know how that happened. I think what happened is I went to that Flagstaff RTR, and when was that? That was in June. So April, oh, so I was only on the road 2 months when I went to that. And really the only friend I made was Bob. But, oh no, and actually no, that's not true. I made another friend, another guy, and we never really traveled together. But almost everybody else I met weren't full-time. Yeah, so most of the people I met were hoping to get out on the road someday. They weren't on the road yet. And I don't know, I guess I just didn't really connect with anybody else. And the RTR got split up early too. That's part of probably, you know what, that's probably why. I think we were only there 2 days and the RTR got split up because law enforcement came and kicked us out. And so we all split up in smaller groups. And but Bob and I became friends, and I left Flagstaff after the RTR. I ended up staying there a couple of weeks, and then Bob and I ended up traveling together again, like sometime in August, I think, or late July or something. We saw each other again in Oregon or something. But other than that, I've been completely on my own for almost 4 years. This year I am making more friends, but that's my story. That's how I got here. That is my story of selling everything I had in the San Francisco Bay Area and learning to live on the road. The other, one more thing about work is that when all of my clients, so a couple things, and I'm going to talk about this because I know some of you might be, you know, kind of facing the same situations. But so in addition to I think I had 3 clients when I hit the road, and I didn't tell any of them that I was doing this because I didn't think they would. I knew one in particular, my biggest client, which was, you know, 60-70% of my income. I knew she wasn't going to get it. I knew that if I told her I was living in an RV, she would think I wasn't working, because I used to work for her, and she didn't even like the idea of us working from home because she didn't think that we would really work from home. Anybody who works from home knows that you actually work a lot more when you work from home, right? So I knew she wasn't going to understand me living in an RV and working for her as a consultant. And so I didn't tell anybody. And I still, like, 3 clients, and everybody knows, like, when you own a business, you never stop selling and you never stop marketing. What I was going to do is do contract work. I wanted to work less. That was really my goal. I was like, you know, my cost of living is going way down. I don't need to work as much. I don't need to get the high ticket, you know, I don't need to get the rates I'm getting now in the San Francisco Bay Area. I knew I wouldn't probably. And so I was going to do contract work like Upwork and some of the other websites that are out there for contractors for social media. Or I even built a couple websites and, you know, just little projects and stuff like that. And I was worried, though, how competitive are those websites? How easy is it going to be for me to get work? I did end up getting 2 or 3 new clients while I was on the road. And then when my contracts came up for my existing clients, I changed their contracts and lowered their cost for them to never want me to be there in person. I was like, you know what? I want to do all my work remote now, and I'll charge you less if that's okay. And it worked out. And so that's what I continue to do, work with my existing clients and do small projects through like Upwork and other things like that, and continue to do that until I started making videos. And we all know the story of the videos. Things just took off a lot faster than I thought they would, and that became my job. And I am so happy. I love making videos. I get to be a travel vlogger. How awesome is travel and lifestyle? I mean, I do think of myself as much more than a travel vlogger. I think of myself more as someone who gets to share herself in order to inspire and motivate people, with travel as kind of the backdrop. And that's my story. So I've babbled on long enough, but I know a lot of you have been really curious about my story, and I do think that there's a lot of tidbits in there that could help some of you if you're aspiring to live this lifestyle, or if you already do. And so that's it. I will see you on when's Christmas? Wednesday? Anyway, Christmas Day, I will see you for the live stream. I'm going to put a link in the video description below, but if there's not a link there, then all you have to do is go to my channel at 11 a.m. Pacific time on Christmas Day, and the live stream will be there. It'll look just like a regular video, and you'll be able to click on the right hand side to comment and ask me your questions. Remember, it's going to be Ask Me Anything. So I'll see you there. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed hearing how this all started, and I will see you soon. Happy holidays, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate, and I'll see you soon. In the meantime, from my camp, my beautiful boondocking spot, I'll see you soon. In the meantime, be happy, be free, and be kind. I'll see you soon.